Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are jamming some STIFLENOUGHT, but this STIFLENOUGHT build reminds me a lot of the STIFLENOUGHT builds that were around when I first started playing Legacy, which was a very long time ago. They were sort of blue-white control decks with this STIFLENOUGHT package to win the game with, and they kind of just played the good blue and white spells. So, you know, Brainstorms and Ponders, Force of Wills, Daze, Swords to Plowshares. So we're kind of just doing that here, because the new set has given us a new tool. Doorkeeper Thrull. 2 mana, 1/2, flash, flying, artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So this works with our Phyrexian Dreadnought in a similar way to Dress Down does. We can just have this in play and then play our Dreadnought, then we're all good. It also works with the Uro, so we've kind of got a backup threat here. And this also has some really nice text against lots of things in the field, from like goblins to initiative creatures, to death and taxes guys. And because it hits artifacts as well, it can stop the One Ring trigger, because the One Ring trigger is an enters the battlefield thing. It relies on you having casted, but it is an enters the battlefield trigger, so this will stop that from happening as well. So quite a lot of interesting applications for this. You know, a 2 mana 1/2 flying flash is not an exactly amazing stat line, but the fact that it's got flash means that our opponent can cast something, be expecting it to do something for them, and we just go, well, no. So there is also one other important card that this stops, and that is Orcish Bowmasters. Now, it's not going to stop the Orcish Bowmasters from wrecking our Brainstorms or whatever, but it is going to stop them getting the initial ping. So it's going to give them less bodies, less things to soak up our Uro attacks with, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck list, really. We're very clean here. This deck has been 5-0ing quite a bit recently, actually. So I'm curious to give it a go. We've got 12 enablers for our sort of 6 threats. So we should be like odds on to have these in play and not have them stuck in our hands. And these cards don't necessarily get stuck in hand too much. Like the blue ones can obviously pitch to force, but Dress Down and Stifle just have useful text in Legacy these days. And Doorkeeper Thrull, same sort of deal. We can chip away a little bit as well. That seems fine. I like the fact that we've got a nice bevy of removal here. Not just plows, but a couple of endings in there as well. Mana base wise, we've got 1 basic in the form of Snow-Covered Island. Then we've got a Savannah, 2 Trops, 3 Tundras, and we're also playing Wasteland. So it is very, very reminiscent of the decks that I first saw when I first started out playing Legacy, not long after Ponder was printed, to be honest. When I started playing Legacy towards the end of this block, so like Shadowmoor, Morningtide. So yeah, pretty excited to see how this one pans out today. Sideboard wise, we've got some Hydroblasts. These can deal with things like Blood Moon. We only have the 1 basic, but we can fetch it and work around that. Narset to stop opponents from drawing a bunch of cards. Some Veils for like the scam decks. Some Graveyard Hate. A Lavinia is very good against a selection of combo decks, as well as things like 8-cast too. Speaking of 8-cast, Stony Silence, get right in there. We've got 2 Containment Priests as well, which can, again, shut down some of the scam stuff. And that's the deck, really. So remember to like and subscribe, and let's try and STIFLENOUGHT people like the good old days. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Alright, so we're on the play here. We're probably not pondering. We're probably just going to play our Misty Rainforest and pass. We've got Forcible Blue card. We'd like to keep the Euro so we can just get that in on turn 3 and start doing our thing. So we're just going to play out this Misty Rainforest and pass. Misty Rainforest for our opponent. Oakley dokley. So now we can drop this drop. And we can try and do some Doorkeeper Thrull business. Let's see what our opponent fetches off of this Misty. An Undercity Sewers. Okay, so we can really jam up a Grief here if that's what they're going for. They left 1 card on top of their library. A Ponder. Okay. Misty Rainforest from our opponent. Let's go and get ourselves a Tundra. Try and make a friend. This can play into a Daze, which is unfortunate. I don't think we're going to fight over a Daze if that's what they have. Right, we're just in, aren't we? If I play this Savannah, it makes their Wasteland choices worse. If I play this Tundra, then they're more likely to hit our... if we play this and something happens to our Doorkeeper Thrull, we end up getting the trigger off of the Euro, which we'll put in the Savannah, which will let us plow. So I think we are just going for Uro here. Right, if they want to spend a removal spell on our Doorkeeper Thrull, that's not even that bad for us. But we're in. If we can untap, we've got a pretty good turn. Getting some card advantage, bashing for 7. That sort of jam. We've shut down some of the scarier things. Like Archon of Cruelty and Atraxa don't get to do anything with a Thrull on board. Like, obviously, they're still big creatures that we're going to have to deal with. But there is a source of Plowshares sitting in our hand. Alright. Our opponent could be playing like something like a Doomsday. Okay, so we're not on regular scam here. So we're going to see a Brainstorm at end step, sure. So we're more likely a Grixis. Sort of probably control, since they didn't play a threat on turn 1 or turn 2. I'd imagine they're probably going a little bit bigger. And they're more likely to have time to leverage Surveil lands doing that sort of deck. But we'll see. There is a buy. Okay, so we're looking at like a Strifo pile probably. A Dark Ritual. Okay, maybe that's not what we're looking at here. I don't believe this is our fight, but they could have some Thoughtseize and stuff here. Or we could just be a full-on Storm deck here. A Ponder, sure. A Lotus Petal. Is this just going to be fodder for the Beseech the Mirror? A Burning Wish. Our opponent has got 4 mana floating. So I believe this is going to get them a Thoughtseize. And then they're going to Thoughtseize us, and then we're going to lose to the Beseech the Mirror. So if we counter this, we lose to the Beseech. I guess we have to hope they don't have it, and they're not getting a Thoughtseize here. If they're getting goblins, we can probably beat these goblins with an Uro. I think it is just going to be the Thoughtseize to clear the way for this Beseech that they probably have in hand with 4 black mana floating. Oh no, they chose Beseech the Mirror. That's interesting. Right, have they got a Veil of Summer? So we fight over this, then they Beseech the Mirror and we lose. I will show them that we're running Force of Will. I don't think that's going to be a shocker to our opponent. Neither is showing them the Ponder. I don't think they're not going to go for it here. A Relay? Is that it? With a Beseech the Mirror in hand. What? Why didn't they just Beseech there? Am I missing something here? They got the Beseech off of the... yeah, they got the Beseech off of the thing. They had the... Alright. Sure, we get to have another turn, I guess. A Daze. That does have some text on it. So if they do a rules that is just lethal, we can plow our own creature. Chrome Mox from our opponent. We should be able to string this together. They didn't get anything off the Chrome Mox because of our Doorkeeper Thrull, which is kind of interesting. Ponder, sure. They can Ritual into Beseech the Mirror. We don't really get a good time to Brazen Borrower or something either, because the bargain cost is an additional cost. So they'll bargain away their Chrome Mox. We don't get to bounce it with like the Beseech on the stack or anything like that. A Dark Ritual from our opponents. I'm not expecting our Daze to do anything here. Another Dark Ritual. So they can Beseech for Gaia's Will. Just play a whole bunch of stuff. So it's looking kind of like the Epic Storm, although I don't see as many Ponders in the Epic Storm right now. But it's in that rough ballpark. Right, so here's the Beseech. They're going to get Gaia's Will. Then we are just stone cold dead to everything they got going on here. And their Storm will be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We should have a Storm count of enough to kill us. But we kind of make them play through it in case they just go for like what they have here. And then we can plow our Uro. Sure, they have 22 damage now. Or 24 damage even. So I need to play 2 more spells. I'm just Beseeching right now. Okay. For another Beseech. Oh no, they're going straight for the Tendrils here, are they? Interesting. Alright, so we plow our Uro, and then we maybe get to live here. 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. Right, let's plow our guy here. They've still got mana. They can continue going here. But maybe we get to clip them with this. Right. If we make them pay for this, and they will, and they'll still go up. So that's not going to be the choke point for them. There is a Beseech the Mirror. If we what are they going to find here? If we... Alright, I'm going to cast this Brazen Borrower right now. Opponent obviously has a lot of life total. I'm just trying to work out what I'm doing with this Beseech. So they could Beseech and just cast a Burning Wish. How do we feel about them getting a Burning Wish? Like, it's kind of the same as countering the actual wish itself. You just get a little bit more information. Because they probably don't have a second guy as well. They probably don't have a second tendril, so they're going to have to go through a Burning Wish line. And maybe they can't do that. They could do Song of Creation, draw a bunch of cards, and then try and get them that way. Okay, so here is the Burning Wish. So this is our time to constrict their mana slightly. Because this will give them slightly less mana than they need to tendril us. Alright, they remembered that they Veiled us Summer, like... Oh no, they didn't Veil us Summer, right? Did they? Oh, they got a Grape Shot. Okay, that's fine. Sure. Yeah, that was that the turn? I can't remember if it was a turn. That was a long turn, but we didn't quite get there. So, Veil of Summer is going to be useful here. Social Extraction has some text, but isn't the most useful. Lavinia is great. Grafdigger's Cage, pretty great. Stony Silence, also great. Removal spells, bad, so those go out first, and then we see what we're looking with. Brazen Borrower, not really the most useful thing here, so we can trim that one. And this gives us 2 cards to fit in. So Grafdigger's Cage, obviously not amazing with Uro, but if we're just doing Uro via other means, then we should be fine. We could trim the Euros, but we do need ways of actually winning the game here. So I think I'm more inclined to trim on Ponders here. We've still got what? 10, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, we got loads of blue cards here. Prismatic Ending is not completely useless because it can blow up like artifacts and stuff. But I think the tools we have here are just better. Like, I think the tools we have are pretty good. Stifle is also a pretty potent tool. If our opponent's relying on something like casting a Veil of Summer, Stifle can actually still interact with them. Well, we're not keeping this one. Okay, we can't keep this one. So ideally we can Veil of Summer into Stony Silence is the plan here. We'll need to find another land with this one, for sure. I think we are not interested in this Doorkeeper Thrull right now. That's a problem for later. But if our opponent tries to Thoughtseize us, then we can at least defend ourselves with a Veil. Probably has to be a Trop that we get. Right, just scrying. I'm not going to stifle all this because we could stifle a Storm Trigger later on. That would be great. We don't have any of our own Surveil lands, so we're not doing that. We found the Tundra. Okay. Let's get a Trop, and I think we are just jamming this one. Are we jamming this one or are we jamming the Lavinia? I think the Lavinia is better because it also beats down. Means that they need 4 lands before they can cast a Beseech the Mirror. So this should do a decent amount of work on our opponent. We have Force of Will to protect it. I can still cast like some rituals into a Burning Wish into a Grape Shot. A Ponder from our opponent? Sure. They did not shuffle off the Ponder. Interesting. Maybe they only wanted 1 card there and they're going to fetch land away the other one. Alright. Let's put another hate piece into play. And then for this point we can just hold up Stifle, Veil of Summer and Force of Will, and then I think that should be enough of a shield to get us through. Lavinia and Stony Silence have a bit of overlap because spells that mana wasn't spent to cast. Like this just shuts down Beseech the Mirror altogether because they can't cast the thing because they haven't spent mana to cast it. But they both shut down 0-drop artifacts. Our opponent's finished brainstorming. Play another land. Alright. Our hand looks nigh on impenetrable at this point. We've got double Force of Will, Veil of Summer, or we've got Force of Will, Stifle, or Force of Will, Veil of Summer, Stifle. Like, that's so many things. I don't think we are stifling these fetch lands. I think there are bigger prizes, especially since we can protect our hand with a Veil. Commercial District. The red-green Surveil land. Our opponent's cracking a fetch land. Again, I don't think this is where we point our Stifles. Ponder, that's fine. We've got to crack for 7 more turns with our Lavinia. But whilst it's in play, our opponent is going to struggle a little bit to win the game. Like, they can still do it. They've got 4 lands now. But we've got a grip full of permission that should hopefully have something to say about that. A Ponder. Honestly, I don't think we need to cast this. I think we are just sitting back with as much interaction as possible and just try and ride it out for 6 more turns. That's a lot of time to let our opponent sculpt. But our opponent hasn't shown us any white mana, so I'm not expecting silence type effect. So Veil of Summer plus Stifle should be enough to beat what our opponent's doing most of the time. Again, I don't think we're going to stifle the fetch land. And the Brainstorm, sure. We've gone through a lot of their deck at this point. Another land. That might be the last land in our opponent's, or the last one that can actually fetch something from our opponent's deck. Alright. Am I interested in pondering here? Or we can just hold up everything? I think we can ponder next turn. Like, our hand is absolutely stacked. A Dark Ritual, sure. A Burning Wish. Interesting. I think I'm going to fight over this. Interesting. Another Veil of Summer over the top. Alright. Our Stifle still work though. This can't be countered, but triggered ability still can. Alright, quite a big fight we've had there. Tendrils of Agony, sure. Right, so they're playing this. It adds Storm, even though it gets countered. Oh, I know, it can't be countered because of the Veil of Summer. Yeah, that's good for them, obviously. Not great for us, but I'll live with it. Oh, we have this Veil of Summer which just counters the Tendrils. And then we have Stifle if they pivot into Goblins. I'm just giving it a good go. I'm gonna beseech here. Sure, I think that's acceptable to allow to happen. We kind of want them to invest a bunch of resources. Obviously, their artifacts don't actually tap for mana, but they are still things for Beseech the Mirror. Tendrils of Agony. Right, so we'll let them put these on the stack, I think. And then we'll Veil of some of them. So these will fizzle because they won't have any targets. And it's not the same as being counterspelled. That was our opponent's big turn. A lot of resources. I'm going to Brainstorm at end step because we kind of need the velocity here and I want to hold up 2 Stifles next turn anyway. We could Stifle Dreadnought, but we can't have all of these cards up, right? Interesting. I guess we'll put these 2 back and we'll Stifle Dreadnought later if we want to. That does speed up the clock, but I'd rather just have this interaction. Like our opponent's got a rebuild with only 3 cards there. And I could just Beseech the Mirror into Gaia's Will. That's pretty good. Here it comes. They haven't left up any mana that produces black mana, which is kind of their start colour. We can always... they can't cast this anyway off of Lavinia, so it just needs to go into their hand. So this is a multi-turn line. We didn't get to see what they fetched because they're not putting it on the stack. I think, again, I just want to hold up what we've got here. Like, we can shorten the clock by 1 turn, but that will come at the cost of losing one of our Stifles, which I don't think is worth doing. I'm not sure this Daze is going to do anything, but maybe it can sort of slightly mess with their plans. It's better than having no interaction. Brainstorm is interesting, but again, I don't think we're firing it off. We just want to keep our Stifles to ourselves. In an emergency, we can fire it off if our Stifles aren't going to be enough. Beseiju on that. Interesting. Let's Stifle that. That might have just been bait to get the other, to try and get a Stifle out of our hand. But because we have 2, I think we're allowed to take that bait. Song of Creation. That is an interesting one. What are we supposed to do about that? We've got 4 cards in hand. We can hit this now and try and reduce their mana, because that's going to tap their only source there. So we can Stifle this trigger, but I don't think that's going to get us where we need to go. They can't produce mana. Alright. Our powerful hate cards were powerful. Let's go to game 3. I don't think we're doing anything differently. You could board in something like a Hydroblast if you're really worried about the Song of Creation. It gives you a way of interacting with it, but we could just interact with it using our other spells, right? So I think that's probably fine, and we'll just go back in. This doesn't really feel like what we want for this matchup, to be honest. Alright, this feels like a very hateful hand. We'll keep this. We don't really care about fetch lands, so we'll not keep the fetch lands, so we're not worried about taking additional life. Because if we use 2 fetch lands, that's 1 less storm they need. And we've got our colours here. A Lion's Eye Diamond, sure. Like, if they turn 1 us, they turn 1 us. I don't think we're supposed to mulligan just a Force of Will when we have Gaia's Will shut off and then all of their artifact mana shut off. Okay. Like Grafdigger's Cage isn't amazing, but it does some work, right? So players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries, but Beseech, I think it might exile the card first, and then you cast it, so it's not going to affect that, but it will affect Gaia's World Line, so they won't be able to do that, but they can just go through the Song of Creation. Next time we can follow up with some more hatred for our opponent's deck with the old Stony Silence, and then we can just go making a massive threat and see if we can kill him. We'd love to find a Lavinia this turn, that would be the best draw, but Stony Silence is pretty good still. Alright, Daze, I don't hate that one. Let's get this in there. Next turn we make a big friend, and then that's what, 13 damage, so that's a 2-turn. Ponder from our opponent, this is not our Daze target. We don't really want to Daze here because that slows down our clock by a turn. We just want to assemble our guys. Now if we draw a Lavinia, then might be inclined to play that, but I think most other things we're just going to slam our big guy and try and get this game over and done with before our opponent can sort of sculpt their way through. A Burning Wish. We will counterspell this one. This is kind of a bit of a scarier one. Like that finds answers to our stuff and all sorts. Alright, so we can flash in a Doorkeeper Thrull and then play the Phyrexian Dreadnought on our turn. This way it looks like we're holding up mana, even though we don't have anything to do with it. Our opponent doesn't know that. Thoughtseize. Oh my god, I'm yielding here when I shouldn't be. That's really annoying. I pressed the wrong button here. They did not take the Dreadnought. Sorry, they did not take the Doorkeeper Thrull, they took the Dreadnought. They could have kind of got maybe like both effectively by taking the Doorkeeper Thrull. I'd love to have a Brainstorm here and move some cards around. Alright, they were kind of rewarded for doing that in the end. Interesting. So we can fire off an emergency dress down if we need to. Our opponent also only has 4 minutes left on their clock. I don't think we're just going to fire off a dress down though. Like it's such a key part of what we're trying to accomplish. We want to hold this one back. Could be a blue card for Force of Will, could be all sorts. We've got a Daze. That's interesting enough. Our opponent's going for the hard cast Song of Creation. We can certainly try and interfere with that. Again, I don't think we're doing the dress down just yet. If we find like any sort of cantrips, we can then try and sculpt the top of our deck to make this dress down a better proposition. A Misty Rainforest. I don't really want to play that one out. We're just going to carry on bashing with our little friend. Our opponent doesn't run anything like add noise or anything, so this little tiny bit of damage isn't really going to matter. How do I feel about this Stony Silence being bounced? It's pretty good. We could dress down to try and find a more permanent answer, but I think we're just going to have to let this go. I think. Alright. Let's see if our pieces we have in play are good enough. A Veil of Summer, you say? I think we're going to cast this dress down. Trying to get like a Stifle or something here. A Daze. Like we can Daze this and then we can Daze it twice and hope that does something. I don't really think we have any other choice here. So interesting. A Lion's Eye Diamond. I guess. A Dark Ritual. Our opponent really didn't want to lose any mana here. So I'm going to take that sign that they need the exact amount of mana they've got here. Because if they crack the Lion's Eye Diamond, they lose the one card in their hand they were hopefully trying to do something with. Alright. So that card was probably a Beseech the Mirror. And we might have dodged that for now. Let's just get this Stony Silence back in. Switch off these LEDs. Of course it will dodge Thoughtseize. Close land that they know that we have. We'll crack for one. In our opponent's end step we can crack in with another Doorkeeper Thrull, and that gives us a 5-turn clock. Which might not be good enough. Our opponent's definitely got time to rebuild, but maybe not time on the clock. Let's get a friend in. I don't think this Wasteland is that helpful, but I think it's better to have it than not. Yeah, let's hit one of their black sources, I think. Or is it one of their blue sources? Sure, we'll hit their sewers. Now, we can still lose this one, but it's going to be tight for our opponent. I did not shuffle off of that. Okay. A little relay, sure. Echoing Truth, Dark Ritual, Beseiju. Okay, so they can't actually channel that Beseiju. Right, they have one turn here, because we're about to do the thing our deck's supposed to do. And put this little friend into play. Dark Ritual is how things begin. You see Echoing Truth on our Stony Silence. Yep. Can our opponent generate Lethal Storm in 56 seconds? They do not think they can. If they had more time on their clock and started doing it or whatever, or if we had less time on our clock, so our clocks were similar, and our opponent showed us that they were, like, they cast Beseech with Guy as well or whatever, I would probably just scoop them because it's only a league and they've kind of shown us they can win there. But the fact that there's such a disparity in our clocks means it's not really one of those things. Our opponent probably could have played a little bit faster. Nevertheless, we have so many hate permanents for this matchup. It feels pretty good. All right, let's go to round 2. All right, we're on the play. We kind of get to do the thing we want to do. We'll keep this. We'll play on the Tropical Island because that's the land we care about getting wastelanded least. All right. Let's hope we don't get wastelanded because that would be bad. All right, no wasteland. Step 1. Put Tundra and pass. So we can flash in our Doorkeeper Thrull or we can end step, dress down. Depends how we want to approach this. Depends what our opponent leaves untapped. Ponder. Okay. So we could be experiencing a fatal push, but that would kill our Dreadnought anyway. Are we going to play into this Stifle that our opponent might have? Sorry, not Stifle, Daze. I think it's acceptable to do so if our opponent wants to set themselves back. Because we can always just get on the Uro grind. So if we draw another land, we can play the Dreadnought, and then if they try and kill our creature in response, we can flash in the dress down. Right, I think we are casting a Phyrexian Dreadnought. Right, we're in with Phyrexian Dreadnought. I would like to cast a Ponder now. Try and secure another land drop. Maybe find a bit of interaction. I don't really like any of these. We get any orange shuffle. Another underground sea. Our opponent tells us they're on a bit of a brew. So that means I have no idea what's going to happen here. A Ponder, sure. Like, we've got a pretty impressive clock of 13 damage a turn. So, you know. A fatal push on our Phyrexian Dreadnought. Is this worth fighting over? I believe that this is worth fighting over. And I have a choice between this Ponder or this dress down. They both help us see more cards. I think it's the dress down here. Alright, they are scooping to that. Interesting. So we didn't know anything about our opponent's deck other than it's got blue cards and some removal. So Narset is probably going to be useful. Veil of Summer has a possibility to be useful, and not much else beyond that do I have any information. Right, we'll trim a Prismatic Ending to get ourselves a Narset. I do like having Borrower as just like a nice catch-all. Do I think Stifle is going to be really useful here? Uncertain. We can trim a Stifle for another Narset. Obviously helps us find more Stifles. Do we want these Veil of Summers to protect our things? Daze on the draw. Maybe we'll just have these Veils instead. Let's try that. I don't like this one. Too much lands. Not enough going on. Alright, this one feels a little bit more exciting. What are we stripping away here? It might be the Brainstorm, weirdly. But I guess we don't know if we need the Veil of Summer. So let's put the Veil of Summer back. Now, the reason for Brainstorm is our opponent's a black deck. The chance of them having Orcish Bowmaster is relatively high. What if our opponent is some sort of like surgical extract main deck sort of weirdness? A Brainstorm, sure. So we've got a similar curve to last time, except we're going to be playing Uro instead of a Dreadnought. Hymn to Turak. I have thoughts about Hymn to Turak, as you can probably guess. I can get this snow-covered basic to dodge some Wasteland, so we can just play out some fetches. Alright, they've got a Daze here. So this is going to hurt. Uro is fine if it goes to the graveyard. Alright, it wasn't Uro. Draw a land, then maybe we'll be okay. Alright, we've got a creature that we can deploy. And if we draw a land, it lets us just put an Uro into play. Which is pretty good. There is a Wasteland. I'm going to say no to this. I'd very much like to maintain the white mana we have. The opponent says they're on a bit of a weird deck, but they've played a lot of cool cards that I like. So, well, Wasteland, Hymn to Turak, Brainstorm Daze, you know, these are just good cards. I don't think we're stifling the cycle on this. I think I'd rather get this Doorkeeper Thrull in and give us a chance to play an Uro. An Uro can beat out a Troll pretty handily. A Hymn to Turak. I love the Hymn to Thorax over there. I guess we want to deploy the one thing we have going for us right now. We're going to lose this Uro. It's a shame, but it's a card we can get back at some point, maybe. This just means that like Dreadnoughts and stuff are live draws. Right, Ponder. Sign me right up for that Ponder. Show me the Dreadnought. Wowzers, trousers. I will take these. In comes the big beefcake itself. Right, they've got Daze. We can't pay for that one. But we've got another one. And I'm probably saying they wish they dazed our Thrull. A Murktide Regent. That's a big boy. But speaking of big boys, the top of our library is a 12/12 into a Swords to Plowshares. So if we plow this, they go up to 27. So we don't have a 2-turn clock. Right, they're probably going to crash in for 8 here. Yep. We play the land, so we're not getting wastelanded. That's good news. Baleful Strix. That's a very rude customer. It doesn't draw a card because of our little thing. So we could plow this, crash for 13, and then our opponent has to chump block this, and then they still take 4/5. That puts them to 1. Alright, I'm down with this. Our opponent's unlikely to have like direct damage here. But if they kill our creature and they're left with a Murktide, then so be it, right? I think they would have killed it if they had the removal spell. Obviously they can draw it this turn, but so we can put our opponents to a lower life total potentially. Would they have cycled that troll if they had it? That's probably what they drew. Yeah, okay, so they're getting a little bit of surveil action. We put him to Turek into their graveyard. So they might have to chump block this turn. I hope they have to chump block this turn. They can't put another Murktide into play right now. Alright, they do not have a removal spell. Good to know. So we attack with both of these. They have to absorb the Dreadnought damage. So we get in a cheeky 4 damage, put our opponent to 3, 2 even. And then they have a Bowmasters. Okay. That doesn't do anything when it comes to play. This Doorkeeper Thrull is doing some good work for us. A Brainstorm, that's a pretty good way to find an answer. Like if they get a removal spell for our Dreadnought, that's pretty good. Like we can still peck away for 2 turns. But that gives them another turn to draw something like a Baleful Strix. A Wasteland, okay. We're not going to have any white mana. Understood. We can draw a blue card, then that's all that matters, I guess. They're coming in with this guy. They haven't scooped, which means they might have a solution here. We did not draw a blue card. Send in the clowns. You're going to see like a Brazen Borrower here. We are going to see a Brazen Borrower. So we chip away for 1 here. Alright, we managed to get there. Our opponent not dazing our Thrull when they could have. They said they would just F6 through it, and you certainly watched me on my channel F6 my way through it. Things like that before. So I guess what goes around comes around, and I got a bit lucky our opponent F6 in there. Although this game would have played out... I don't know how this game would have played out if we didn't have that. Like we had removal stuff. If we pondered, we probably wouldn't have kept the Dreadnoughts if we didn't have the Thrull anyway. So the game would have been very different anyway. We still might have won. Alright, we are 2-0, cruising with this one. Let's go to round 3. Alright, we've got Island Ponder. We've got a Force of Will to get us going somewhere. We might be able to make a turn 2 massive creature. Sounds like something I'd enjoy doing. Hickory Woodlot. Okay. So now we're in a weird spot. So we can get Tundra because our opponent's not going to mess with our land. So this is going to be the Cascade deck. So we can... I'm just trying to work out what we're doing here. I think I do want to ponder here. Any order and shuffle. We want to find another land. We did not find a land. We found another Force of Will. So we can Force of Will a bunch of stuff and hope that that does enough. Right, we've got another turn. Swords to Plowshares, you say? We're going to have to discard. That's pretty bad, isn't it? I guess we discard the plow. Our opponent's either going to go off or they're not. It's very annoying that we have missed on land here, but I still keep Island Ponder hands. Nothing over there. They might be doing a Violent Outburst or something in our turn. A Ponder. I still want the land. Right, found the land. Put them on top this way. We'll play this land. If we have to crack it for a Stifle, we can. Otherwise, we can just try and get some Dreadnoughts in or whatever. Using our dress down. I don't know, we'll see. Right, he's going for a big creative technique here. Are they going to demonstrate or not? Right, so playing around Daze here. So they are demonstrating, so we're going to get our bonus copy, and then we can counterspell both of these if we want to. A Daze. Sure, I would like to counter your spell, please. They're probably going to pay 1 here. And we will Force of Will this, pitching a Stifle. And Force of Will this, pitching a Dress Down. Right, then we're going to crack this. We don't want to draw the Dreadnought now. Do you want our opponent to see our green mana? I don't think so. It's just for the Uros here. I think we're just better off getting another white source. Blue card. Not a blue card. So I think we have to... I think we just have to play our Dreadnought here. And if our opponent demonstrates and we find anything that draws us a card, like a Ponder or a Brainstorm or whatever, then we might have a blue card to at least fight them a little bit. We do have Wastelands in our deck as well, which is a pretty nice thing to have access to. Post-sideboard, we've got things like Lavinia, which help. And we can surgically extract some things out of our opponent's deck so they can't just keep spinning the wheels. We're going to see a Maelstrom Wanderer here. We're going to see a Trumpeting Carnosaur. Enter the battlefield, discover 5. So this is going to show us some of their deck. Just all the normal things you'd expect. Right, they are demonstrating though. A Daze. Alright, I will try and counter their spell. See if they sacrifice their Hickory Woodlot. They will. Okay, you can carry on with your creative technique. They should be able to just win the game from here. Right, they're giving us another shot here. Alright, I'm demonstrating. Not a fan of this Dreadnought, so we'll leave that up there. So, right, it's more phoenixes, however you wish to say that. Right, we are just demonstrating again. A Doorkeeper Thrull. Well, that would have been good against the old Carnosaur, wouldn't it? But alas, it is not to be the case. Right, well that one doesn't do anything, so that's something. The Cascade does work, unfortunately, here. Let the Galaxy Burn. It deals 2 damage to some creatures that didn't enter the battlefield this turn, so nothing. But let them cascade a little bit. Boarding party. They've run out of hits here. So just showing us their whole deck every time. So we are pretty dead, right? I haven't done the maths here, but we block. Alright, they've got a Squiddy Diddly. That'll do. Okay. Well, we should be pretty good against this matchup, to be honest. We've got Lavinias, which are pretty handy. They exile cards, so this Grafdigger's Cage doesn't do anything. Hydroblast is a pretty clean counter spell from some stuff here. Containment Priest doesn't work because they are casting the spells, but we can counter the first one and then try and surgically extract a bunch of stuff. So we're probably getting rid of our removal spells and just having some more counter magic to fight what our opponent's doing. And just try and go bigger than them. That's the plan. We've got Wastelands and Lavinia. Like, that's a really potent combo if we can find these things. Like, Brazen Borrower isn't great here. Maybe we should have a Narset instead of a Borrower. I don't know. Borrower is a blue card, so is Narset. We don't have to tap out for the Borrower. So that leaves up things like Stifle and Dress Down. So I think we are right to have the Borrower. Alright. This hand with an additional land is just like GG's. Do I believe I can draw an additional land here? We only got 1 draw step to find it. I think we have to mulligan this one. I think we can do better. Okay. So the reason we're keeping this one is because we can Force of Will the first one and counter it, and hopefully that will be enough. So then we're getting rid of a Dress Down and a Stifle here. So we can Stifle the Demonstrate trigger as well. Right, our opponent's starting with a little bit of extra mana. Very rude. Right, let's go and get ourselves a Tundra here. Let's cast this Ponder and assume that we don't have to fight on the first turn. A Doorkeeper Thrull is certainly not unwelcome. So we'll put the Dreadnought, the Thrull, the Strand. We definitely want that extra land. Sandstone Needle. So the Thrull can stop Trumpeting Carnosaur. And then we also have Force of Will available. Now if we fetch to play the Doorkeeper Thrull now, we don't get to play the Dreadnought. But this can interact with our opponents. Okay, our opponent's clearly not on the cheaper cost version, where they have the Tilwatch Trickery plan. So we'll get this in there. It shuts off Trumpeting Carnosaur. Okay, we just drew the thing anyway. And we'll take that. And we'll bash. We only have Force of Will or Stifle. We don't have both. So, a little on the awkward side. So, they're probably going to go this turn. I think we let them demonstrate. And we Force of Will the first copy, surgically extract them all. And then hope they don't hit anything too good off of their first one. So basically they'll get one copy of Cascading, whatever it's called. Creative Technique, sure. So they are demonstrating. We could stifle this, but then they still get to get one. Whereas this way, we get a spell that might be relevant here. This is our copy. So what do we get here? An Uro. I will cast this. So this comes into play. We will counterspell the real copy. And then we will get rid of all the copies from their deck. Alright. They didn't board in any of the cheaper stuff. They are just on the playing it more expensively. Okay, so they don't have many copies of stuff here, right? This is just a lean build that should just kill us with one activation. Okay. Let's hope this just finds like a bad 6-drop for them. Maelstrom Wanderer. That's a pretty good one. Now we have a relatively impressive board, so we can soak some damage. Right, so boarding party doesn't hit into anything because we've taken everything out of their deck. Oh no, but they've still got Progenitor Ooze, and these are all going to be hasty, aren't they? How much damage can we soak? I don't know. That's not really our job to work out just yet. They turn them sideways, we match up some blockers, then we see if we're dead. I guess they have to do some of the maths, because if it goes wrong for them, then we might be able to kill them on the backswing. Well, maybe not actually. Yeah, I think our opponent should just kill us here. I do detest that this deck exists. I don't think it's very good, but it's just not really Magic. You don't really have any decisions, you just play your spells. Alright, so what is the biggest creature here? 8/8 is probably the biggest creature, so that can go. 7/5, and I don't really want this on the board. So that goes, and then we see how much damage we take. I imagine it's a lot. Yep, we took all of our life total. Yep, I think this is a pretty good matchup for us generally. Like, Lavinia just shuts them down relatively well, but we just didn't have a great start. We had to mull to 5. Our hand was pretty reasonable. We needed their Creative Technique to not hit into the Maelstrom Wanderer, really. If their Creative Technique hit into, like, Aurora Phoenix or something, and they just got some Progenitor Oozes, that's probably fine for us. But alas, was not the case. So sadly, we've taken our first loss. Let's go to round 4. Alright, our hand does the thing we wanted to do. We've got a little bit of protection. Seems right. I think our opponent is known for playing blue-black Reanimator style decks. Thought Seize. Ah, dear. Is this my fight? Like, it might be. What does our hand do if we don't? I think we just... I hate this so much, but I'm going to say no to this. There you go. Your Thought Seize is actually him to Turak. Enjoy. Yikes. That was Tundra. I don't believe our opponent plays Wastelands in their build. I guess they could be more on a scammy style deck, and they do have Wastelands. But Thought Seize is unusual. I'm pretty sure they're playing their own blue-black list. They've been working on for a while. So our Doorkeeper Thrull has some pretty good text here. I think that is better than getting our Wasteland going. Alright. Let's crack this. I think we'll get a Trop. Let's see if we can start making some threats here. Doorkeeper Thrull. A Daze. Okay, we're not paying for that. That's sad. So now I have to decide what we're doing with our Wasteland. I think we're just going to have this and play around another Daze here. I think we're just going to jam it all in one go. Maybe we're supposed to. If we got through the one Daze. A Kraken. This many lands in play, it's unlikely this Daze does anything other than go into a Brainstorm or pitch to a Force of Will. But you never know, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe they're going to hard cast a Grief here. And we can just shut it down with a Doorkeeper Thrull. Alright, Bayou, that's interesting. A Murktide Regent, you say? Okay, that's large. Not huge, but not tiny either. Can we get another Thrull in? Right, the Thrull is in. Let's play a large creature. We've got a fatal push on our Doorkeeper Thrull. Interesting. I'll get another Tundra. I will let this resolve. And I will deploy this Dress Down. I was hoping to use this to knock the flying off the Murktide Regent so we could gobble it up. Wow, that's not a bad draw, is it? How the worm has turned. Alright, 24 power. I think your Murktide might be back on blocks. We've got this Daze. Is it going to be useful? Unlikely. But we've got it. We're going to see a Ponder or a Brainstorm here. No. Sauron's Ransom. None of these matter. So show them a Witherbloom command and a Murktide. Now, these piles are pretty similar. Like they take the Witherbloom command, we can take them off of it with our Wasteland, so they're more likely to go for the Bowmasters here. Yep, they've gone for the Bowmaster pile. Right, we can't take them off green anyway, but Bowmasters doesn't really accomplish very much here. They need to block with their Murktide. Shoulder's Edict. Now that is one I will fight over. We know our opponent's last cards in hand are Murktide and Orcish Bowmasters, so we know this Daze is good. And our opponent's skewing up. So we've got 24. They get to block 5 of that damage, so they're dead. Alright. Opponent looks like they're sort of on a very different deck than I was expecting, to be honest. So sideboarding is going to be a little bit different here to what I was imagining. So I'm interested in this sort of thing. If they're in Bug, they probably have an Uro, so I'm probably not going to hate having a Surgical Extraction as an option. Prismatic Ending cleans up Bowmasters. Borrower can bounce a Murktide, but we've got Plows, which is usually a better use of our mana. So that gets us a Veil. I think our Uros are fine. On the draw, I like Dazes a little bit less. How much less do I like them? Do we just want to have a bunch of stuff like this? I can believe that. I'm not really feeling this one. Like, we've got Force of Will with no friend. We've got a Phyrexian Dreadnought with no friend. Let me just mulligan. This seems better. I think we can keep this. I think we end up putting back the Wasteland, although actually we're probably going to put back the Veil, right? Because we don't have any green mana, because this needs to be white mana most of the time. I'm going to put back the Veil. So we can get Thoughtseize here. No, not getting Thoughtseize. That's something. We can play a Flooded Strand and pass. So no Surveil lands on our opponent's deck. That's the impression I'm getting from them not cracking the Plot Delta there instead. Up the Beanstalk, you say? Sure. We can try and answer this with the Prismatic Ending, but how useful is that going to be for us in the long run is the question. Now, we could try and just take the land out from underneath them, but that's definitely got a failure rate. So we're going to crack this and get Tundra. And now we have to decide if we are ending the Beanstalk or playing our Doorkeeper Thrull. This plays into Daze quite heavily. Would I rather have our Doorkeeper Thrull or our ending Dazed? I think I'd rather have the Doorkeeper Thrull Dazed, because we've got an Uro, which is just a fine card on its own anyway. It doesn't need the Doorkeeper Thrull to do its thing. In some ways, it's even better when you actually just get to go through the motions with it. There is a Wasteland. Not a big lover of that one. Let's try and get a Doorkeeper in. Our opponent can spam out a Bowmasters in response if they want to. Oh, goodbye, Tundra. I'll miss you, Tundra. Let's hit this. See if we can force out the Bowmasters. So I'd like to get this Brainstorm off. Shoulder's Edict. Let's Brainstorm. Okay, we've found a green source. That's something, I suppose. So we'll put back just a couple of Uros. It's fine, I guess. And we'll use our only little creature. Okay. Opponent hasn't leveraged the Beanstalk yet. So fetch land could be a Murktide. Okay, no fetch land. Our Bowmasters, sure. Given our current predicament and what we've got available, I don't think this is where I fight. So we've got an arrow here. So we can try and ending this now. Alright. So they didn't get any value off of their Beanstalk. It just cantripped. So I guess it's, you know, it's kind of a 0 for 1 there, but they didn't get any additional cards. Right, Brainstorm. We can cast Brainstorms because we've got this Plow. We know the top card of our library is an Uro. Oh, that Wasteland is pretty good, isn't it? Thanks. Okay, so we've got nothing for 2 turns, basically. Let's just pass through our turn there. Save some time on the clock. Got nothing on this turn either. Alright. Now if our opponent plays a Murktide, at least the game will be over quickly. Unless you find a white source, then we get to Plow. Right, Brainstorm. Alright, so we've got nothing there. But if we find a mana source, we can start rolling though. We can just make some large creatures. Even a Wasteland will allow us to do that. But there's only so much time we have here. Our opponent's obviously been sculpting a little bit of Brainstorms and things. A Misty Rainforest. I'll take it. Alright, opponent. I don't believe our opponent's running Stifle. But we didn't really have a choice but to play into it given the situation we're in. Dress down, we draw a card and their Bowmasters doesn't ping us, which is quite nice. A Mystic Sanctuary. Getting back a Brainstorm. It's a pretty good Magic the Gathering card. So crack in for 2 here. Brainstorming first. We end a turn, dress down, untap, Dreadnought, Plow as options. But our opponent is certainly possible to have sculpted themselves some answers to what we're trying to accomplish here. Yep, we'll take the hit. Let's go get Tundra. Let's cast a dress down. 2 mana. Can we hard cast Daze? It is. Okay. We don't really get the luxury of trying to play around with Daze when we don't know if we've got lands on top of our library or not. Well, you're not green, are you? And now we've been punished for getting this. Okay. Like, we can plow away a Bowmasters, but we're probably going to save it for a Murktide. Like, we're right to get the white source there, even though we've got these Uros in hand. But we're a long way off of the backside of an Uro. Yeah, I think we just take the 2 here. If these Bowmasters go all the way and kill us, then so be it. Just a few extra turns. What is this? Oh, Lorien Revealed. Yep, that's a lot of cards. Alright, we're certainly seeing the downside of our deck here, where we've got a lot of A plus B stuff. Carpet Flowers, yep, sure, have some mana. Another Boys. Trying to attack us here. I guess we have to plow this guy to buy us an additional turn. But if they play a post-combat Murktide, then we're just losing. But they've drawn so many cards, they probably are winning this game anyway. We've just got to hope their hand doesn't really interact with our Phyrexian Dreadnought plan, and we can maybe smash some Dreadnoughts into play. That's a lot of green mana, so we might be seeing an Uro here. Nope, just a Beanstalk. That's very good. We do know our opponent's playing a bit better now as well. That helps. So no Murktide this turn is what I'm getting. Powder Keg. Yeah, I think that'll probably do it there, because that means our Dreadnoughts won't be any good. Okay, now we know what our opponent's playing. We get to sideboard a little bit better. So we definitely want these Narsets. This for Bowmasters is good. Plow for their limited number of threats. Daze has become a lot better on the play. How do we want to approach this? Veil of Summer doesn't actually seem that good, if I'm being honest. I'd rather have Force of Wills, or like it tends to generate a lot of mana. I think we'll keep the Forces in. Let's try this. Right, on the play. Our hand is fine. I'm not really in love with it though. A couple of redraws. I think we'll keep it. But again, it's not amazing, it's just fine. Let's play this out so we can plow if we need to. Next turn we can drop the Doorkeeper Thrull. Then we can start cycling our way through these dress downs. Doorkeeper Thrull will stop the Bowmasters from doing anything exciting. Narset is a very big find here. So in our opponent's upkeep, we're going to make this Doorkeeper Thrull. That way they can't flash in a Bowmasters in response to get a little bit of extra value. And if they want to Daze this, they can set themselves back a bit more. I we just did. Now they could certainly just have removal spells for this, and that's annoying, but I can live with it. I think our opponent's deck is relatively well set up to beat us here. Like, their Wastelands are very good when we only have one basic in our deck. And they can recur them with Witherbloom command. You see a Beanstalk here. Right, our opponent's holding up some madness. I don't think we just slam Narset here. I think we at least try and play around a Daze. We got 1 point of damage in. Let's pass it over. You see a Bowmasters. Fine. You can have a 1 mana 1/1. Oh, sorry, a 2 mana 1/1. Doorkeeper Thrull doing some work there. It doesn't stop the triggered ability on the Bowmasters when we draw extra cards, but it's something. So we can use things like Dress Down to unlock cantrips from our hands as well by just shutting off the Bowmasters for a turn if that's the thing we're interested in. But I quite like to stick a Narset here. So we're going to see a Beanstalk. There it is. Yeah, I think we just have to let that one go. I think I do want to take this out. Turn on our cantrips. At least give ourselves a chance with some other bits and pieces here. So our Narset on an empty board where our opponent's tapped out is going to feel a lot better. Get this Dress Down in. A Wasteland. Okay, let's play this Narset around a Daze. And then we can Wasteland our opponent if we want to. Right, I didn't have anything. That's pretty exciting. Dress Down, Ponder. I think I'll take a Ponder, please. So what am I most worried about? Blue spells, I guess. I'll take out their Underground Sea here. See if we can set them back. So shut off their card draw nicely using our Narset. The Doorkeeper Thrull stops Bowmasters from just being able to ping the Narset down, but it won't stop them from just end of turn playing Bowmasters, attacking with it if we're not keeping a guy back to block. Alright, so they can take out our only green source if they want to. We don't really need that right now. It only is for 2 cards in our entire deck, really. Right, they agree that they don't really need that. So this looks like a Shoulder's Edict, I think. Sacrifice a non-token creature, sure. So they're leaving us with Narset still. That's understood. Okay, so we have a choice with our Narset here. So I think step 1 is probably Pondering. These aren't really great, are they? Like, we could take the Ponder, play a fetch land, then Ponder again. So we can go and get a Trop here. This turns on the possibility of Uro down the line. Doorkeeper Thrull. Like, that is a thing we want, but do we want these other cards? Not really. So maybe we are going... So we'll cast this Doorkeeper Thrull now. If this resolves, then we'll minus the Narset, because then Bowmasters can't just ping us down straight away. A Force of Will. I'll take a Force of Will. Okay, because the Narset clears those other cards from the Ponder. Now we're set up in a way that we shut down their Bowmasters a little bit, and we're shutting down their Beanstalk still. So considering this matchup looks pretty unfavourable, we're not in a terrible spot. And their Wasteland is probably best used as mana for them at this point. No play. Interesting. Alright, let's cast this straight into a Bowmasters. Yep, here it goes. I believe we are going to just plough this. Does leave us a little shields down for Murktides. Right, let's draw some cards with our Brainstorm. Prismatic Ending, we're not really about that right now. We haven't played a land yet, but we're going to have to draw through these anyway. It's kind of rubbish. Right, let's do it like this. Just hold up the most of that stuff. I don't think we're getting rid of this Beanstalk. Maybe we are. That means there's less of an issue if the Narset goes away. But the thing is, this allows us to Brainstorm if we can just kill their guy. Right, now I think we're going to hold for a turn. We can always Prismatic Ending next turn. No, we're not really advancing our board here. Wouldn't mind finding a Wasteland if our opponent's missing land drops over there. This feels like Bowmaster's coming to get us. So we're going to hold this Brainstorm back and save it for our opponent doing a Bowmasters so we can Brainstorm a response. So I think we are going to get rid of this Beanstalk because I think we're about to lose this. I think our Narset is not long for the world. Now we could hold back the Doorkeeper Thrull just to block. Maybe that's a smart thing to do there. And here's the Bowmasters that we saw coming. Let's have a little Brainstorm in response. You spell pierce me. They are going to spell pierce me. That's so rubbish for us. I guess we don't pay for this. So we can get to Brainstorm. Do we want to counterspell this Bowmasters and keep our Narset around? We know the top card of our library is a blank. Let's turn on their Beanstalk. But at what cost? Our opponent isn't really doing anything. I think we need to be aggressive here. Maybe that was too aggressive, I don't know. But it feels like our opponent is spinning their wheels a little bit because they haven't been playing lands. Maybe we just got a handful of Bowmasters. Maybe we're supposed to just save our dress down and Force of Will there for something scarier. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about that play. Because we're already getting rid of the Beanstalk. We need them to not cast a Murktide Regent. That would be a nice thing to avoid. A Witherbloom Command. Okay, this is great for our opponent. They get themselves a land back so they can start jamming again. So this gives them access to blue, so I imagine we're going to see a Murktide next turn. So I'm pretty unhappy with the play I did with the Force of Will now. Alright, so let's draw a useless card, keep it in hand for Brainstorm. I don't believe... Like, if our opponent's got another Bowmasters, then so be it. We've got through 3 of them, so... This is like a murderous cut. Yep, there it is. They're taking a while to cast it, so that's how I knew it was a cut. Alright, so we've still got our Narset though. For now, but a single Bowmasters can just ping it down, but they only have 1 left in their deck. Right, here's the Murktide, the thing that I was scared about happening. It's going to be large. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can easily make it a max size one. So we're going to find a little bit of help here. We've already gone through 2 of our plows. We were quite aggressive with those early on, and I think we're just going to get outvalued this game. Like, Narset's done some work for us for sure. Maybe we're not supposed to kill that. Alright, that's irrelevant to us. Maybe we weren't supposed to fight over that Bowmaster. A dress down. I don't want to fire this off because if we draw an Uro, we don't just get to put the Uro into place. So I think we do it in our opponent's end step. So they might kill the Narset here. They might just go 2-shot to the face. Let's see. They are going for the Narset. Sure. That's going to turn on all their cantrips now, which is probably the other cards that are left in their hand right now. We're going to see a Ponder, a Brainstorm, sure. There is a Ponder. We don't really want our opponent to find their last Bowmasters, because we're hoping to try and draw into a Ponder with our 2 draws that we've got lined up. Right, so let's do end of turn, dress down. Right, we get a card. We've got Daze. That's unlikely to be useful here. Alright, we've got nothing to do here. So that's a swing and a miss there. Feels like another Murktide. So they're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this first one's going to be a 12 power Murktide. So we'll die on our next turn. We're going to find a plow. Even if we hit the big one for 12, we're still dead. We need to find a Brainstorm. We need to Brainstorm into 2 plows, which might prove very difficult. 2 plows left on deck. We need them both. No Supreme Verdicts over here. Powder Keg. Sure. I don't think we care about that one at this point. Uro. I guess Uro into Brainstorm into double plow. We don't have the mana for double plow though. I think we are just dead here. We're definitely dead here. Yeah, we got crunched pretty hard there. I think this is always going to be a difficult matchup. They're kind of designed to control the board, and we can't really push through some of the stuff they've got going. All right, that puts us 2 and 2 now. So let's go to the final round and see if we can get a 3-2. We are on the play for the final round. Our hand looks good. We can keep this. I don't think we're pondering on turn 1 as much as I'd like to. I don't want to expose ourselves to Wasteland this early on. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. If they mulligan to 5, then I will ponder. Although Stifle can probably do a lot of work in the same situations where a Force of Will or a Daze would do some work. Alright, let's just play this Flooded Strand and pass. This has to get us a Tundra. Are we stifling this? I want to stifle this. Wooded Foothills. I'm thinking, do we want to play this in response to something, or do we want to play it before our opponent has access to a Daze? I'm going to try and play under 10. Oh wow, our opponent didn't have a land. Sometimes you just have the absolute soul rid of people, right? Okay, white and this. Dreadnought. Cut this for another Tundra, and we're going to cast a Ponder. We could get a Trop there, but I think, generally speaking, white mana is the more important colour for us. Alright, our opponent's scooping it up. We've just seen Wooded Foothills. So what deck would have a Wooded Foothills, then scoop? Or keep a one land? Like, a one land you keep would probably involve Ponder. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. So either some kind of like combo-y thing that doesn't need a lot of land to operate, or a deck that has cantrips and they had the cantrip in hand they were planning on using. Interesting. I don't think we have enough information to change what we're sideboarding here. I think we'll just go back in. I do not like this hand. We don't do anything with it. We don't do anything with this hand, but I guess we count on some spells, but that's not really where I want to be. Okay, Island Ponder keep. Got a plan here. Two of these have got to go. I guess maybe the Brainstorm goes and a Daze. So we can kind of keep a route to victory, a way of finding a little bit of mana or other interaction, and a little bit of interaction of our own. That is a Rhinoceros. That's been suspended. That is interesting. So we kind of beat that with something we have going on here. So we're going to get our basic island so we're not playing into this Wasteland. So we can stifle the cast trigger. Daze, Dress Down. I don't hate these cards. So this lets us keep the Stifle. Oh, I didn't mean to put the Daze there, did I? Alright. It's in the order it's in the order of, I guess. Sure, you can keep your footfalls going. Alright, our opponent on the one lander again. Interesting. Is our opponent going to Wasteland us? That takes them further away from doing their own stuff. They are going to Wasteland us here. I don't believe this is the spot that we Daze in, Stifle in. When we can just Stifle and just kill 2/4/4s with a Stifle. Alright, we've got double Daze available. Let's get our Dress Down going. See if we can land a large creature. Nice 4/4s opponent. How'd you like a even bigger guy? Is it greedy to Brainstorm here first? Feels a little bit greedy when we want to fight over this. So if we miss on a land and we don't get our Dreadnought. Right, we got a Force of Will over there. Right, we get to Daze here and our opponent has no lands. A Force of Negation here. So this is turn 4. We haven't played a land yet this turn. So we can Brainstorm a bunch of lands, basically. So we don't really want this island. We can just fetch in a minute. And we chuck that one away as well. Say no to all these things. We'll play our land. We'll crack it now. Go and get ourselves... Yeah. Force of Vigor is pretty annoying. Like, I think this still favours us in quite a big way. We'll get the Tropical Island in. So our opponent's got no cards in hand, so we can just stifle this trigger. So the way this works is they remove a time counter, and then once the time counter is removed, they may cast it. So we stifle this trigger, and this stays in exile. So our opponent has no lands in play and one card in hand. We at least have some stuff going on here. So I'm feeling okay about this. A Force of Will, not that exciting, but not terrible either. It's Wasteland. So our opponent knows that the first land they get is going to be dealt with. But I think it's worth playing this Wasteland out still. Instead of holding it as a secret. Alright, we'll play this one out so we at least have a fetch ready to go when the Brainstorm happens. We can play out the next one so we can hard cast a Force. Oh, they found a lucky land. How lucky. They definitely should have found more land by then. We've been fortunate they haven't. I don't think they should have kept their opening hand, to be honest with you, though. Do I want to stifle Aloran Revealed? I don't think so. I don't think that's what we're about. Right, we can stifle a Cascade trigger, or we can stifle a... We can counter spell a problem card. Alright, I guess we're just going to keep doing this. What a weird game. Misty Rainforest. Feels like our opponent might have the thing, but they're waiting for us to crack this so that we can't cast a Force of Will in response. That's fine. Right, they are moving to do some stuff. It's going to be a violent outburst. It is. I think we're going to fight over the spell here. Alright, so we're going to force of will the Crashing Footfalls. They can give their creatures +1/+0, that's fine. If that's 2 of their Crashing Footfalls down, they might have 1 more. They might have 2 more, but we'll see. What do they reveal to us as well? So no Minsc and Boo here. So they can have their Cascade. I'm not seeing a Minsc and Boo in there. So this... would I rather have a Stifle or a Dress Down? Stifle can sort of answer their stuff. A Dress Down draws a card. I like drawing cards. Alright. We'll just take this out. And we're just trying to draw one of our threats here. Stifle is pretty useful to stop a Cascade doing its thing. And Endurance, sure. This is going to put their own things back into their graveyard. We could have dressed this down. Oh, they're targeting us. Really? Do you not want to put these Crashing Footfalls back in your deck? Okay. That's what you want. Maybe I was thinking maybe I should dress that down. But I guess we could wait to see what they target and then stifle them. But right, let's just try and clean this up. They could have a Force of Negation they could hardcast. But they didn't. Okay. I don't think our opponent's having fun. A Brainstorm. That's the sort of thing we've been looking for. I like the Doorkeeper Thrull here. I don't really think we need the ending. It can clean out some rhinos, but I don't think we're worried about that just yet. I like the Stifle. I like the Dress Down. I like the Brainstorm. Maybe we've put in a Stifle back here. And then we can shuffle if we want to. I guess we could shuffle straight away and see if we're doing any Doorkeeper Thrull stuff. A Brazen Borrower is a threat. Okay. I'll put them back in that order, I think. And pass. So we can bounce rhinos if we need to. How many endurances does our opponent have? They show us 1 endurance. They showed us 1 when they were milling through. Alright, who are they going to target here? I guess we could have just played the Doorkeeper Thrull. That would have been way smarter. Targeting us. Okay. We definitely should have Doorkeeper Thrulled this. Right, they are putting like a bunch of like fetch lands on the bottom of our library. Let's just plow this. See if our opponent enjoys that or not. A Mystical Dispute. I do not have the mana to pay, so... Alright, your guy connects. This might just be their only threat left in their deck. I just don't know. Alright, should put this instead of the endurance when this guy came in. So be it. Dress Down that we knew was coming. Chip away for 1 here. I don't think we need to bounce the endurance. If they have a Minsc and Boo, that's what I'm scared of. We can bounce the Boo and then play the Brazen Borrower and attack the Minsc and Boo, if that's what they have. I think we can afford to take another hit for this, maybe. Misty Rainforest. One of those Blanco cards that we've been drawing. Does our opponent have another endurance? We can bounce it if they do. It's not ideal, but... Alright, I think we take 1 more hit and then we're looking at bouncing it and doing some stuff. If we can find an Uro, then we're laughing. Right, we take 3. Go out of 6. Right, so I think we're probably trying to bounce this in the next combat step. A Savannah. Do we play that or do we keep it for Brainstorm purposes? We have these mystic thingy-majigs to play around as well. Let's go in. If they've got another endurance, then they can put us to 3 here. They didn't have 1 last turn. Doesn't mean they don't have 1 now, obviously, but... Okay. I think I'd like to petty theft this. A Force of Negation. Sure, we're going to take 3 here. Then we're going to cycle this Dress Down at end step now. Kind of getting to that stage of things. A Wasteland. That's not an Uro. But maybe the next card's an Uro. A Brainstorm. Okay. It's a pretty good one. Oh, these little Thrulls. So what are we doing here? Thrull and Thrull. That leaves us 1 mana open. Do I want to Wasteland my opponent? but then still draw the Misty Rainforest? I don't think so. So I think we are putting these two back. This does mean that we are susceptible to Fire Ice, but did we see any Fire Ice? They didn't seem to have any, so maybe they don't have them. I guess we play this one out. And then we make some Doorkeeper Thrulls, and we can start chump blocking. Land into Minskamboo is obviously very bad for us here. I think we have to shuffle this and hope they don't have a Fire Ice. Our last fetchable. More chump blockers. Alright, Brainstorm, help us out. Okay, the plow is good. Do I want to go to 1? What's the difference in this matchup with 1 and 2? Not a lot of difference. This lets us stop Minskamboo potentially. I'm going to put them like this for now. And I guess we attack with 1 Doorkeeper Thrull. What a silly game. Oh, we're quite far behind on clock then. We need to smarten up a bit. Let's try and rid ourselves of this endurance. We can pay round that whatever that blue spell is called. Mystical Dispute, that's the one. Okay. We've gotten somewhere. So we know the next card underneath this. So let's get a little bit deeper before firing off our brainstorms. What a silly game. Oh, second main phase. What is this? A Shardless Agent. I don't believe they have any things to find here, but we'll see. Yeah, okay. So they've shown us their whole deck now. Spirit Guides, so there are no Minskamboos in their deck. So their only threats now are Shardless Agents. Okay. We can double block this. Alright, Brainstorm. Be a friend. What is this? I'm about to get Fire Iced. They're getting some F6 value maybe. You put a card on top of their library. That's kind of terrifying. Oh, what a stupid game. Okay. We've got to hold back our stuff here. We'll draw through our Brainstorm. Maybe we'll find some Phyrexian Dreadnoughts at some point, or an Uro. Like an Uro would be the best. We'll block here. Try and get this double block. We succeeded. Okay. Another Shardless Agent. Oh, we are counterspelling this one. Alright, our opponent's fighting back. A Mystical Dispute. We will not pay for this. Let's bounce some lands. Once again, we are playing a ridiculous game here. Have they got a Spirit Guide? That'd be actually pretty sick here. They probably want to play the Spirit Guides as creatures though. Alright. So drawing a Brainstorm. We know one card underneath that is a fetch land. I think we just wait one more turn. And then do some brainstorming action. I don't think we want to play the land because we want to have maximum things to put back. Oh, silly game is silly. Lorien revealed. Sure, we literally don't care about that. There's only like just some guys in their deck that we care about really. Come on, deck. Where is my Uro? If I just get an Uro off, you're alright. Let's cast it off. Can we find an Uro? We cannot find an Uro. Yikes. I guess we're putting these back. And then we want to crack this, I suppose, and go to 1. Yuck. Get Tundra. I don't believe our opponent's got haste creatures, so let's just bash for 1. Try to stun us with a Dryad Arbor off the Misty Rainforest. That'd be hilarious. I just didn't see one. Alright. We know they've got Borrowers, so we can't afford to attack here. A Dress Down. I guess that's a thing. But yeah, if they Borrower as a threat, we need to be able to deploy our Doorkeeper Thrull. Why are you doing this to me, opponent? Okay. So what are we doing here? Are we dressing down? Are we just chump blocking with this? Or are we dressing down looking for one of our removal spells? I think we are chump blocking. And then we dress down in the end step. What a wild ride this game has been. Another dress down. Alright. I think we are in trying to get deeper in our deck mode. So here it comes. A Ponder. Okay. Ponder's good. That's Wasteland. And cast a Ponder. Daze, dress down. Okay. Any order in shuffle, I guess. Swords to Plowshares. Our opponent can cast it whenever, right? So let's see. This is good. Just counterspell this. Right, taking out the endurance. I believe that's our opponent's last threat. Aside from... No, that's not true, actually. They've got... It should be their last endurance, right? Yeah, there's all 4 endurances are in the exile, though. So it should just be... Okay, the Brazen Borrower kills us. Sure. Okay. Ugh, we just couldn't find our things there. That was so frustrating. So Lavinia is pretty good here. So let's have some Lavinias. These take out the scary things. This is pretty good. Daze is pretty good. Our deck is just good, as it turns out. Kind of tempted to get rid of a couple of ponders here. This matchup should be fine. I think we've got some really nice tools for it, but we might run out of time. I don't think we can keep this one. Don't think we can keep this one either. It's got no lands. Right, we can keep this one. 2 of these cards got to go back. I guess it's the Force of Will and the Plow. The plan is dressed down into... So Stifle, dress down, Dreadnought. That's our plan. It's a good plan. Stifle can stifle a Cascade trigger. Right, that Snow-Covered Island is actually pretty good because it means we don't have to expose ourselves to them wastelanding our wasteland. Let's get Tundra. Cast this in the end step. Again, wastelanded. Takes our opponent further off of the things they want to do as well. Play Dreadnought. Force of Will. Alright. Let's play this game. Can I have my big guy? Like, we don't have the most amount of time to win this game, so forcing through our big threat feels like the right thing to do. It certainly outclasses a lot of their threats. I'll need several 4/4s to beat this. Oh, no land. This Daze is excellent. Buys us an important turn, potentially. Alright. Okay, maybe we get there. Alright, we did get there. Oh, that was a mammoth of a game. That's quite a long league in the end. Longer than I was expecting when we're trying to just shove some massive 12-12s down people's throat. We finished with a 3-2. I can't even remember all the matchups now because it's been so long in that last game. We definitely got crushed by Bug. I can't remember what our other loss was too, though. Alright, let's talk about the deck. So, this deck seems perfectly reasonable to me. What I will say is the green splash for Uro is not free. Like, we're skewing our mana base a lot because we're kind of like, we've got lots of single blue pip cards, single white pip cards, and then we've got this blue, green pip. Now, in our deck, we're kind of hoping to cast for 1 blue-green, but things don't always work out, and you will need to cast this for the backside. So that means we're running a load of non-basics in our deck to get these trops and stuff in. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can play our deck as a 2-color deck. That does make Prismatic Ending worse, but we could just have 1 off-color card. And that gives us access to a basic plains in our deck, which would actually be pretty big. And then what would we play instead of the Euros? I don't know, is there like some kind of other creature we could run in that slot that is like super scary? I don't know. Uro is obviously a good card. We did get jammed up a little bit with Wastelands though. But yeah, this deck, I can see why this deck has got a few 5-0s to its name. We're doing an inherently powerful thing, you know, with Doorkeeper Thrull into Dreadnought. You know, this is a powerful thing that can end the game. And we've got lots more ways of doing it, and those ways of doing it aren't so bad. So we're actually pointing our Stifles at our opponent's stuff more often than we are using it to make a Dreadnought. It's kind of a thing that's... It feels like it's not necessarily designed to be making our Dreadnoughts. It's kind of supposed to be a little bit of card advantage, like not card advantage, like a little bit of interaction from us that in a pinch becomes a thing for Dreadnought, which is way better than what these decks used to be. I think Doorkeeper Thrull is like the big deal here. And this is just pretty good in the format as we saw and as I mentioned at the start. But like we're encasing this in a shell of like excellent white cards, excellent blue cards, and some wastelands. So that feels like a pretty good place to be. Now, yes, we are an A+B combo deck, effectively, with our doing these things into Dreadnought. And that's not always going to work out. And we did see in that last round, in the second match, where it just went on and on and on, and we just couldn't find... You know, we had a bunch of dress downs and stifles, but we couldn't find a creature. And then we just slowly bled out until they landed the final threat. But the deck seems pretty solid. And I quite enjoy playing it, lots of choices to make, and like I say, it does remind me of when I first started playing Legacy, when people were dark ritualing like Ashenmoor Gouges into play, or playing lands deck, but it was like 42 lands in the deck, or, you know, people playing STIFLENOUGHT, people playing High Tide. You know, it's a little bit of a blast from the past, and you know, it did feel like we were doing Legacy power level stuff. I've not always got on with Dreadnought decks, but this one felt like the best Dreadnought deck I've played since I played that the mono blue Dark Depths Dreadnought deck that I played. That felt really good for some reason. Not really sure why, but there we go. Sideboard wise, it felt like all the sort of tools were the things we wanted. I think we're going to need a little bit more help to beat the Bug Beans matchup, because, you know, we're A plus B, they're just good cards, they're going to pick us apart, they got more card advantage than us. Narset only goes so far, we have to stick it, so I think that's definitely a matchup that will probably be difficult. You just write it off maybe, but you probably want some more tools than that. I don't know if you just want more Narsets or what. I suppose we could have brought in the Lavinia in that matchup. Maybe that would help a little bit, because it stops all their delve threats and it stops their forces. So maybe that's where we should be going, and I just didn't board it in properly. I can't remember if we boarded it in or not, but maybe I was just supposed to board that one in as well. All right, I think we're done for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a bit of a long one to record, but I had a thoroughly good time with it, and I hope you enjoyed too. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. The subscribers really do help the channel, and it means you don't miss any of my content. And it pushes me in the algorithm, so I really appreciate everyone who does subscribe. I think we're pretty close or at 2,700 subs now, so thank you so much for everyone who's helped me get there. And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.